Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Thanks for joining us for another edition of CIONET Spotlight, where each week we put a digital leader somewhere in the world under the spotlight. This is a very fast-paced 30-minute conversation. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Rui Pedro, who is the Chief Product Officer for the e-commerce pillar at AP Moller Maersk. Many of you may know AP Moller Maersk is one of the world's largest 5 supply chain concerns, one of the global 200 companies, 80,000 employees, multi-billion-dollar year revenue. And Rui's had a very long career in technology. He's part of the technology council at Maersk. And we want to look back a year and look at 2020. Clearly, in the supply chain world, there's a lot to be learned as airlines were unable to move product in March and April of 2020, and how the shipping industry stepped in, and how Rui's team was integral to that. And then let's look forward in terms of what 2021 holds as we're thinking about the vertical. And we're kind of end with Rui. What's the big takeaway? What's the unique thing that other digital leaders, CIOs, CDOs, CTOs in the call today can take away from that? So, Rui, without further ado, maybe you can elaborate on your background and focus and role at Maersk.
Thank you. I feel to be in the spotlight now.
That's it.
So I worked with technology for quite a long time. I wouldn't say it's a long career, but at least for long enough to not remember all the projects I was involved with. But over time, I would say I have moved more from an engineering guy towards a more product-centric mindset type. So how do you build technology that is linked to a comprehensive business strategy, and how do you build those blocks that are somehow contributing to a successful strategy in your organization? Sometimes technologists are too focused on how cool is the technology and not necessarily how really valuable is that and how scalable. So at Maersk, I have done a bit of digital technology for customers, and over the last year, I don't know anymore. My current job, I'm leading the product organization of the e-commerce logistics, and that pretty much means not just the technology, but really the roadmap of how do we build an e-commerce logistics set of products that we can sell directly to our customers, the retailers, the brand owners, the lifestyle companies around the globe, that could ultimately help them to scale up their operations for e-commerce. And as we know, with coronavirus, this is obviously a hot topic. And in the last 12 months, we accelerated 10 years the e-commerce market. So my job is to build the products that make those companies be successfully that get them successful into this business and scale their business up.
So, double click on that. When we talked last week, a Nike, I'll just pick a big brand, but a Nike, historically, you've had supply chain solutions for them, I suspect going back 20, 25 years. What's changed with this pillar now around what you call e-commerce? Is it a new focus for the business, or do you tightened how you think about productizing those solutions for them, or maybe a deeper example on how you work with those retailers?
Yeah, so I won't name any brands, so that's one example, but doesn't mean that we work with them.
Sure.
Imagine, so Maersk is a company. We were a shipping company for a long time, and we also had some kind of inland operations, inland logistics. And though we had an investment on that with a company called Damco, which was the logistics and services arm of Maersk. Clearly, over the past 4 years, Maersk has moved more into an integrated strategy where we want to cover end-to-end logistics, from manufacturing to sofa to couch. So e-commerce plays a role in this part. So Maersk could potentially cover manufacturing to DC, to distribution center, but this last piece of going from a distribution center to the consumer's doorstep, this is something for us is very, very critical now, because it's where consumers are. It's where the customers of our customers are getting into. Now, we don't want to be I don't want to say, I cannot speak on behalf of Soren Scout, so if he sees this, he should forgive me. But I don't think we want to be a UPS or a FedEx in the last mile, right? That's not our market. What we want to be is a player that connects the dots between these last mile providers and the entire supply chain that comes from a manufacturing to a DC. Now, if you think about the product, I can't disclose what other products because some of those things are still in the design mode or a ramp up mode. But imagine what Amazon does for their marketplace, right? So when you are a seller and you sell something on Amazon marketplace and you want to become a prime, or the product is being sold as a prime, you don't have to care how is this done, right? You just get the products in the Amazon warehouse and everything else just runs smoothly. That's a product. That's a fulfillment by Amazon product. So product is not just something you can touch. Product is something that serves a purpose and solves a need. And in this case, logistics and supply chain for e-commerce, it means a set of processes, operations, and technology that can make sure that brands can sell online in multiple marketplaces or online channels and be able to serve that in a seamless, reusable, and scalable way.
Yeah. And I should have said at the beginning, you're doing this across 120 countries or something. I mean, these are global solutions for global retailers, correct?
Correct. Well, I don't know if we are doing it in all those countries, but it's a global solution.
Yeah, got it. Let's look at the last year.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly a monumental year for the supply chain industry. I alluded to this fact that, in March, I knew all the cargo companies, all the air cargo companies had to stop, obviously. And I think shipping picked up a lot of that slack. What was 2020 really like for you guys and your retailers in the first half of the year, just trying to, get product out there? And how did that really impact your teams?
Yeah, I would have to see that from two different perspectives, right? One perspective, which is Maersk. What does it really mean for Maersk as a company that does end to end? And I think there are different things that were happening. Air freight is one of the examples where we got hit by air freight because we have air freight, but we were able to support our customers. I don't like the word pick it up because it sounds like market cannibalization. So we were able to support our customers, offering products that would allow them to get their products from a production center to the destination countries. Like US is an example where we obviously used our container transportation shipping product to get some of those air freight volumes that couldn't be taken in commercial flights and did it over the ocean. And I don't think it was just Maersk. I think a lot of those shipping have done that. That was a massive thing for us, not just as Maersk, but as a society, because the economy and the logistics world could keep going. Obviously, in a lower in the speed, not the same speed as an air freight, and this is nothing you can compete with a ocean vessel. But we also have, of course, the other side, the side of the e-commerce, and that's an interesting one for Maersk or for any other logistics player in the world. If you check Shopify reports, they are very clear, believing that the market has accelerated 5 to 10 years over the past 10 months. What happens is not just because the air freight was shut down, but also because of the operations. A lot of companies weren't ready to serve these new types of consumers, right? People very rapidly started to get much more into the bol.com of the Netherlands, or to the Amazon.uk or to the Amazon.de. So a lot of these marketplaces that, for example, I was using normally, but I became much more user of that, right? Everything now, even now, I kind of, even though I could go shopping in Netherlands, I almost don't think about it anymore. I just go online and order. And I think that this is the issue, that a lot of those customers, a lot of those brands, not just retailers, but the fashion brands as well, their operations wasn't ready for this scale. All of those, they were selling in individual markets, but they weren't able to scale that up to sell in multiple markets, in the multiple channels. And that's perfectly fine. Now, the issue they will have over time, I believe, is the speed of the consumer demand is by far more advanced their ability to serve, right? And the right to win in this market is where you find this balance. How do you speed up your operation? How do you speed up your technology, your processes in order to catch up the demand the demand change we had in the last 10 years, the last 10 months, and that's massive. Look, you have El Corte Inglés or Inditex. They are making massive investments to convert their physical operations into online operations, or to converting their physical stores into fulfillment centers, like shipping from store, pick up in store. We're talking about billions of dollars investment to do this conversion in a period of 6 months. So while I think we had a period of time that there was an issue with transportation and we had to sort it out, I think that's somehow gone. We got into a mode where we sorted. Now the issue is, how do you take it from here? Because what happened in 2020 changed drastically the landscape of our global operations, I would say.
Sure. And before we go to 2021, we do want to look forward, and you set that up nicely. But I have a follow-up question on 2020. Looking back, mm-hmm. what was in place from your team's perspective, right? You had a CPO, had a product for the e-commerce pillar, which is vital with all these retailers and brands globally out there. What was in place already that helped you in 2020? Like what was the thing that you set the table in 2018 or 2019 that your team internally was ready to deal with 2020?
Yeah, again, it's if you follow a bit Maersk, there's no way I can talk about e-commerce without talking about the Maersk, because I think what made us ready for 2020 was the strategy that we set as company that was started being rolled out in 2016. So the company started changing dramatically, or drastically, because dramatically may sound negative, drastically the way we operate, organized, how we go to the market, how we tackle the market from an integrated view rather than a conglomerate view. What does that mean is, when you get to a situation like 2020 where there is a lot of moving parts, a lot of things shutting down, and you need to have a smaller group of people to talk so you can find solutions to help you from an end-to-end. A strategy like Maersk, it just helps. You go to a company that is struggling on China, is struggling in Netherlands, is struggling in North America, and doesn't have enough volume to get into an ocean, and the warehouses are not getting enough shipments going out, so it's getting over. You have a lot of different problems in different parts. So if you talk to a company like Maersk, you probably get a solution to a lot of those things in one-stop shop. So that's probably what helped us in 2020. We made fantastic results. I think that's to do with that. Our strategy has shown, and I think was stress tested in 2020, and has shown to be a successful direction, I would say.
And this was a 2016 digital transformation initiative that was both integrated and, I believe, customer centric.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, 2016, 2017, you were leading quite a bit of the customer-facing portfollo, the IT portfolio as well. So.
Yes, correct. Yeah, okay. So the strategy was much bigger than what I was doing. So I don't want to sound like so in scale. So the strategy is more than digital transformation. It has to do with putting technology at the center of our operations and getting customers closer to what we do. But it also includes reshaping of our products, reshaping of our solutions, and leverage technology. What I was doing was getting our customer-facing technology teams to work in a much more flexible, customer-centric manner. And that's what the work we did between 2016 to 2019. Very focused on different ways of working, more co-creation, more agility, more traceability, more accountability. And don't look at the IT guys as the guy sitting in a corner that fixes a ticket, but rather as a really business partner that can help you raise your business to a different level. I strongly believe, and I think the company also strongly believes, technology is not just a mean to deliver an operation. It's potentially a competitive advantage. And that is super important in today's business, I would say.
Yeah, and you're in an industry certainly that, the IT is the business, right? The system is the business. That's what you do. And I would suspect that your business leadership is very ingrained in technology. Probably a lot of them have technology backgrounds. I can imagine there's some listeners today that, CDOs, CIOs, CTOs, where they're still trying to get the business leaders to understand technology, right? Maybe they're in an industry that isn't as advanced or integrated, like say supply chain is. Any advice to them how to bring their business leadership further forward and kind of understand these, these issues where, I mean, all businesses are becoming software businesses, but how do you counsel or give advice, Rui, to those that are on the call that, maybe their business leadership needs to come on side further?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I think we don't necessarily always help ourselves in many ways. Sometimes we focus too much on buzzwords. We buzzword way too much. We bring too many words that are nice for LinkedIn, but then people stop listening to that because you just get tired of listening to the same thing. So you need to start getting down to earth and speaking human language. I don't necessarily think that we do a great job by just going to talk to our business leaders and keep talking about digital transformation and digitization and revolution of the business. I think we need to start getting closer to their heart, and that's their business and what they do and what's helping them to achieve goals and deliver the strategy. And as I said, convert this more to human language. And I think we also need to stop probably being so much focused on continuously bringing topics like, should CIOs be in the board? Should CIOs not be in the board? Should CIO have a more prominent role in the business? Should be a business leader? I think those are a bit of fediverse, if you ask me. What you should be focusing is where you can add value, what you can do to add value. What is that technology or whatever you do can add value, to whom you should talk and talk their language to add that value. That value could be because you build a fantastic technology or because you build a very basic technology that solves the problem. Focus on really solve the problems rather than build your CV or your own personal brand. The personal brand is interesting. I also like to do it, but should be a consequence of the work you do and not your primary focus.
All right, very helpful. I mean, you really laid the scene with 2020 and the back half of 2020, this acceleration, and all the brands and all the retailers woke up to, to these new realities, and perhaps to the Shopify data point, perhaps your industry moved 5 or 10 years in a year. That's what it sounds like. Looking forward, going into 2021, let's start with the technology priorities. What are the technology priorities and the things that excite you as you look, 24, even 36 months out? Is there any shiny gadgets, any core technologies without breaking, proprietary confidential information, but
That's okay.
What are the exciting things that you see that are really going to help, brands and retailers accelerate further going forward?
I think 2021, more than what technology things are going to do, I think it's a year where we have to step up our game. Any logistics provider needs to step up their game. We need to stop talking about warehouses and trucks, and you need to start talking about services and delivery times and service levels and things that can really get things from point A to point B, more than just isolated options, right? You need to start getting customers to understand the entire journey and help them to scale their business. I think 2021 will show probably will be a very good start. I don't think it will be but it will at least accelerate a lot the demand of customers to one-stop shops, the mass demand of customers to accelerate their operations by leveraging quick onboardings, by having companies onboarding faster, being more demanding on visibility, accuracy, not accepting few hours delay, few days delay, got to be like as close as real time possible because they want to make decisions. I think in the back of these leaders' mind will be, if there is another black swan coming tomorrow, I got to be ready for that. So I got to be having enough data to make decisions faster, switch my business faster, and react to those disruptions. So because I think for quite a while, people will be afraid of the next potential disruption. That is not just because a competitor becomes better, it's because it could be another virus that comes up tomorrow. And I think companies like Maersk or any other, they need to step up their game on agility, flexibility, and the ability to understand what is that can make the difference in such an environment.
So you used words like availability, reliability, service levels, end to end. That sounds like a data problem, right? I mean, or a data opportunity, right? And
Yeah,
one
of
can
course.
imagine the millions or billions of, data points that you see on a daily or weekly basis to mine. How are you going about that? I mean, I assume you have a data science team. I assume that they're trying to say, hey, what do we got here? How do you, I assume you also must work with brands and retailers in a, limited way to try to figure out how to, optimize and monetize that. Can you give us some examples or case studies how you're going to do that from a data perspective in the next year or two?
Yeah, the easiest one will be tell you data is the new oil, which I'm not going to tell you that. I don't necessarily agree that, but it's obviously it plays a big role, right? Amazon has made a huge profit out of the fact that they have amounts of data that they can use to optimize their operations to put products closer to consumers, and therefore they leverage, they make higher margins because of that, and they can offer that as well to customers. And so any other company that wants to operate in a global scale and wants to work with these companies and offer them differentiated things, they need to understand that data plays a role. Now, the risk of that is because everyone is very eager to get into the data and AI and these type of things, you start building and selling things that is very biased because you don't have enough data to really have valuable information for customers. Because even with Maersk, right? Just because we have a lot of data on container doesn't necessarily mean that we understand the consumer's data, right? It's a complete different perspective. It's a complete different angle. So from Maersk's standpoint, I think data plays a massive role, but already plays for quite a long time because of our products being in ships and different trucks and stuff like that. From an e-commerce, definitely needs to play a role on supply chain optimization, on cost reducing cost to serve, and ultimately, what are the products that need to be closer to consumers and what are the products that can be shipped in 3 or 4 days, and leveraging that either because we have a data scientist or because we have something else. I try to politically never disclose anything. It needs to be there in whatever shape you figure out, but there is no way you can prevent a strategy that needs to leverage data as much as you can.
And then just a last data question follow up as I listen to your last answer. Do you think the big answers and the big breakthroughs you're going to find is in the data you already have, and it's just an analysis problem, and you've got to find the right patterns to then achieve some bigger outcomes? Or do you think you're only scratching the surface, that whatever's sitting in your data lake, whatever's sitting there to mine isn't enough, and you're going to have to pull in data sets from brands and retailers and elsewhere that are going to come out with those breakthroughs? In other words, do you think you have your hands around a data lake that's going to reveal those answers ultimately, or do you think you're going to have to go source some other data elsewhere to figure out that solution? Do you even know that answer yet?
Yeah, I think you probably have data that can answer some of the questions you might have. I don't think necessarily we have enough data based on the current situation of the world, right? There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of changes in behaviors. Though it's always a bit tricky where's the line, where you draw the line between an ethical usage of data and an ethical usage of data, right? When you start using consumers' data without them really understanding that you are really targeting that, I don't like that. But we need to be able to leverage what is out there that is ethically collected. And I think we still miss a lot, not just Maersk. I think vast majority of the companies that tell you that they have a fantastic data set, data strategy is just probably like small percentage of what they need. Because historically, we have been using data as a data warehousing, right? Yeah, even if you have for 5 years a vision of data strategy, is that 5 years really what you need to have? Is that enough to get? I don't know, right? I don't have the answer.
Always a debate. Hey, couple questions. I know we're coming up to the bottom of the hour and I'm cognizant of time. Let's try to do 3 questions in 5 minutes. Quick one. people, culture, organization, talent, skills, the soft stuff. What did you learn in 2020 last year that you're taking into the next year? Any adjustments on the people stuff, talent, skills? What did you learn that you're going to adjust going forward? What are the big takeaways?
The relevance of checking in. We take things for granted. We think people are just fine. You need to start taking time to check in. It's not performance check. I'm talking about asking about their life. Are they doing? Are the kids going? You need to start checking in more. Not just we as Maersk, not me as Rui. I think in general society, we are too selfish. We need to check in much more.
Got it. And the related question, I mean, your team is global. They're distributed. Headquarters is in, Copenhagen, but you're in Den Haag, and, you're all spread out already. Are you, even the people in Copenhagen and elsewhere, are you shifting more to a hybrid model, or are you going to go, more down the road of fully remote? You're going to go more down the road to, hey, we're going to ultimately get back to our office? Too soon to tell? I mean, where does Maersk net out? We're going to get back to normal ultimately. We're going to get back to more remote, or there's this hybrid model in the middle emerging. Where would you?
I think I'm too small of a nail to answer that on behalf of Maersk. I think Maersk has been already a hybrid for a while. We have people working remote. We already had all the technology for remote work. As you said, my team was globally. I never had people in my office with me all the time. So I think we will remain hybrid. But the real estate strategy of Maersk, I'm not capable to answer. But I strongly believe that you will still need to have office, not probably in the same scale we had before, or in general we had before, because human contact is still necessary. But you need to also understand that some individuals, some people, they have different setups and it still works. And this environment showed that it's still possible to live a business even though you are not sitting in the same office.
Yeah, got it. All right, so we'll close on this last question. The last question I just called the nugget. The nugget is what's the big takeaway, right? We're streaming this, hundreds of listeners out there, digital leaders, CIOs, CDOs, CTOs. And what's the one thing as a digital leader you think you figured out that you'd like to share with everyone? What's the one big takeaway? Big question, I know, but something that's kind of unusual or different or unique you've been doing in your career, or you've just started to do and seen some results. Is there one unique perspective that you could offer the listeners today?
It's a tough one. I don't know. I think what 2020 showed me, and I would say probably going a bit before even that, is you have a lot to learn with a lot of people, even though you might not in the first moment believe that you have much to learn. They can be your managers, they can be your leaders, they can be your people. It doesn't really matter. I think I'm sometimes, and I accept that sometimes I might sound a bit arrogant when I talk, and I'm not. If people knows me, I'm very eager to learn, and I think 2020 also showed me that you can learn a lot with a lot of people in things that you never even thought about it. Right? I'm not talking about the product management. I'm talking about how to deal with working remotely, how to have a better usage of workshops remotely, how to take care of your kids doing homeschooling while you are in a meeting. So I think 2020 showed that things can change in a very fast pace, and you gotta look to people that can give you good inputs for you to do better at your job and your life, and that just happens if you are open-minded enough to understand that it doesn't matter your role, your hierarchical level, or your job title. You can always learn with someone else.
That's wonderful. Rui, I want to, on behalf of CIONET, I want to thank you for a wonderful 30 minutes, very insightful, very helpful. We'll be making a short of this. We'll share it with you, obviously, for social media, but really wonderful answers. I had high expectations, and you certainly outlasted that. So thanks again. I want to remind all the listeners, we do this every Wednesday at noon Eastern, 1800 CT. We have a number of high-profile digital leaders coming up, from Coca-Cola, Bank of the West, Kroll, City of Atlanta, DuPont. Next week, we'll have Del Joshi, who's the group CIO of DuPont Sustainability, so the sustainability division of DuPont coming up. and that'll be on Wednesday the 3rd. So again, without further ado, thanks so much, and we'll see you all next week. Thanks, Rui.
Thank you.
For the last 15 years, I've been on a quest to discover the DNA of the most successful digital leaders in the world. What makes them tick, what's in their minds and in their hearts. We are sharing deep insights from our world-class CIOs so that you get inspired, can learn and reach your full potential as a digital leader. If you are an ambitious technology executive, then I invite you to join CIONET. Join our community so that you too can realize your ambition.